A very pleasant good morning to you on this Selection Saturday Kickoff Show Game Day. Good morning to all of you college football fans out there. Brandon Rutherman doing the first of two Week 4 episodes on this game day. The first one, of course, will be the helmet selections, and then later on this morning, we make our lanyard selections from Cameron Stadium as W&J hosts Teal College later this afternoon. So without further ado, we got a lot of helmets to unveil. Let's get right to it. We're going to begin with Tulsa and Northern Illinois. I pick Northern Illinois and they lose. I pick against them and they win. Let's see how this works. I'm going with Tulsa. Western Kentucky is against Troy. Troy, not the same team as they were a year ago. Western Kentucky, they got their doors blown off by Ohio State just last week. Well, it's time to do the door blowing. Going to take the Hilltoppers on the road. And now brings us to, and I really shouldn't be looking at my lanyard card. I got a card in my hand that I'm reading from. Kentucky and Vanderbilt. About a week or so ago, I would have said, so there's a chance for Vanderbilt. Not today. Now when Kentucky's looking to go 4-0, and they shall get it. And by the way, last year Vanderbilt knocked off Kentucky. So payback, as they say, is a biatch. Now we go into FCS territory, Mercer and Furman. I almost forgot about putting a helmet out for this one, considering I didn't have a helmet on display to begin with for this matchup. Well, we'll make amends for that. Furman should be able to win that one with ease today. Georgia Southern is at Ball State. And while I don't quite have Georgia State's regular helmet, I do have their alternate, so we're sporting that. Georgia Southern, I'd imagine, given the fact that they played Wisconsin tough, and if you play Wisconsin tough, you should have no trouble against a team like Ball State, so we go with that. Rhode Island, coming off of its first road win against Maine since 1998. How about that? Rhode Island on the road again, taking on Villanova. You might as well call them the Road Warriors. They're going to do it again today. Going with Rhode Island. Oh yeah, we have to do the signature. We're off on the road to Rhode Island. It's become a common theme now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going into conference play in the Mid-American Conference. The conference where my picks go to die. I don't think it'll hurt on this first one. I could be wrong, though. Ohio is playing Bowling Green. And I have all my trust in the Ohio Bobcats. So typically what happens is if I pick, say, Ohio, they end up losing, then we know that the curse is real. But we're going with Ohio. It should be a safe pick. And if not, well, I probably should just worry about my day job and not what I'm doing here. We have the first of 3 games in the helmet picks involving ranked teams, and the first one out is number 18 Duke and UConn. Riley Leonard and company should have no trouble up in stores today. No trouble at all. Got to go with the Blue Devils. New Mexico and UMass in a not ready for prime time or any time matchup. Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. I'm going to try my luck with UMass. And again, when you have the kind of record that I have, which right now looks pretty good after all the road victories that I predicted came true last night, going to go with UMass at home. It's a loss that's an unaffordable one, but there you go. Texas Tech and West Virginia. Well, I had no time to celebrate the fruits of victory for the Mountaineers. But why stop at the pit game in the backyard brawl when you can continue on the wave of momentum? And they're sporting all gold today. Ooh. Let's go, Mountaineers. They should win that one. That's what I'm counting on anyway. Back to the FCS with Richmond and Stony Brook. Stony Brook, about all you're good for is a Blue Oyster Cult reference, taking Richmond and the Spiders. Perhaps maybe I should channel my inner Roger Daltrey or John Entwistle, and if Richmond's got a guy named Boris on the team, well, Boris the Spider. It's getting close to Halloween. We got to get into the spirit of it. Meanwhile, speaking of Maine, do we have the right matchup? Oh. I don't know why I was looking for Maine. We'll go ahead and spill it. William and Mary. We've not had a game involving William and Mary to pick with this year, but we do now. They're playing Maine, and it's at home. Got to go with William and Mary in that one. Rice and South Florida. Oh, boy. You know, South Florida held Alabama to just 17 points. That really doesn't say a whole heck of a lot, you know, from the fact that they held them to 17 points. What does say a heck of a lot was that you only scored 3 against Alabama. And if you can't score any more than 3 points against Alabama or anybody, then what good are you? I'm taking Rice. I am taking Rice on the road at South Florida. Go Owls. Meanwhile, number 23 Tennessee against Texas San Antonio. Of course, you know them better as UTSA. Oh, I'm sorry, UTSA. You're about to get road run over. Volunteers at home at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. Big one in the FCS later today. Sacramento State, who, by the way, is predicted by yours truly, beat Stanford last week. They go into Idaho tonight, or today. May as well be tonight, who knows. It's a big one. You know, both of these schools were in the FCS playoffs last year. It should be quite the battle. And I don't know what their records are, where they are from a ranking standpoint. Probably something we'll have to look at down the road when the games get bigger. But Sacramento State, as much as I would like to root for them, they're going into the Kibbe Dome. Yes, they play in a dome up there in Idaho. Going to go with the Vandals at home. Hopefully they'll make things a little difficult for Sac State. Meanwhile, we stay in the FCS for Montana and Northern Arizona. I believe this is the first time we've picked a game for the Montana Grizzlies, so go with the Grizz. Okay, we got a ways to go yet. Jacksonville State and Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan will win their lion's share of games in the Mid-American Conference, but Jacksonville State is not in the Mid-American Conference, and therefore I'm taking them to win at home against Eastern Michigan. South Alabama coming off of a huge win in Stillwater last week against Oklahoma State. I don't know what the heck happened. Oklahoma State fell asleep at the switch, and South Alabama took advantage. This is why South Alabama continues to be good, and if nobody pays attention to them, they're just going to keep doing what they do. So South Alabama will be the safe pick here, against the Mid-American Conference's Central Michigan. And South Alabama should have no trouble making a bowl this year, I would think. If you're coming off of a win like that, that should build your confidence. As long as you don't have the hangover effect on the back end, you're okay. One more for you. Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb is at winless East Carolina. This is maybe the one chance where East Carolina could salvage a September's worth of futility coming out of the block late, but unfortunately I am going with Gardner-Webb in that same capacity as I did with Sacramento State against Stanford. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Gardner-Webb, of course, a playoff team from a year ago. They'll take their chances on it, and they should come out of it, I'm thinking, with a win. I beg your pardon, we have two more FCSers to give you. Southeast Missouri State, who I have not picked this year, let alone Eastern Kentucky. They're going at it today, and it's Southeast Missouri State, simply because Eastern Kentucky stinks. Delaware is hosting New Hampshire. It should be a good one today. Of course, Delaware, with the Michigan Wolverine-like helmets, would be an easy pick anyway. New Hampshire should give them all they can handle and more, I would imagine. But I'm going with Delaware in that one. Now we get back to the FBSers with Liberty and FIU. It's Liberty, 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 Liberty. Here's hoping that Liberty doesn't name their stadium Liberty Mutual. It would just be so wrong on so many levels. And of course we know corporate America just sucking up everything, spinning all the webs of control on anything and everything. All right, I'm off the soapbox. Meanwhile, Florida, the Gators, hosting Charlotte. Well, I made a pretty bad decision in not picking Florida to beat Tennessee last week. Billy Napier's job is saved for now. The hot seat is a little cooled off for now, and it will remain this way before they go into conference play. Florida, you should have no trouble not backing down against Charlotte. Southern Mississippi and Arkansas State. Got to pick one. Again, this kind of falls under the heading of when you have the kind of record that I do, you can afford a loss somewhere. I'm not sure on this one. I probably would have just settled for the old throw the dart at the dartboard blindfolded and hope for the best. So Arkansas State, you're the dart I'm throwing blindfolded. Let's see what happens. Sam Houston and Houston. And I'm still laughing at Dana Holgerson. Bad enough you lost to Rice, and then last week you lost to TCU. Well, you know what? I don't know how hot your seat is, but it won't get any hotter today. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because Sam Houston's still getting their feet wet in FBS play. But if Sam Houston beats Houston, that seat's going to get really hot. I'm going to ride with the Cougars this one time. Let's see what happens with that one. Colorado State in Middle Tennessee. I got to watch the last parts of the fourth quarter in the double overtimer with Colorado State losing, of course, to Colorado in overtime. They've proven that they can hang and bang with Colorado. However, they just weren't disciplined enough. There were two bonehead plays made by the captain of your defense. This is the price I pay for waking up in the middle of the night, finding out that West Virginia beat Pitt, and then all of a sudden you keep looking at the scoreboard thinking, ooh, is Colorado State going to do it? is Colorado State going to do it? And then you go ahead and turn the game on, and it's like, they're not going to do it. So Colorado State, for all their fine efforts, will not be picked. I'm going with Middle Tennessee at home. I'll probably lose that one, but hey, I know what I saw. I know what I'm going with. That's enough for now. Austin P. Boy, I can't wait to get you on the tree. We got a new helmet coming from Austin P, by the way, as well as a couple from Georgia State, and one special helmet which will be unveiled in a couple of weeks. And one that will be on the tree this year. I won't say who, though. It's a good secret. But anyway, Austin P going up against Stephen F. Austin. I got to roll with my boys, the Governors. Let's go, P. They do have a winning record, by the way. I think they do. Nevada and Texas State. No one's riding with the pack down there in Nevada. Got to go with Texas State. After all, they beat Baylor earlier this year. Probably the toughest pick of the helmet picks, I think. We got Appalachian State, who I like a lot, and Wyoming, who I would almost have to put in that same category. This is a tough one. But I'm going to ride with the Wyoming Cowboys because both teams got sharp-looking football fields. That I can tell you. But Wyoming's at home. And I like to think that Wyoming's going to find themselves in a bowl game this year. Appalachian State, right now, we'll see what happens when conference play opens up. Because I'll tell you this, knowing what I know from the Sun Belt Conference, it's going to be tough sledding. With Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, James Madison, who is coming up in a bit, and even Troy, despite the fact that Troy got out of the blocks on the cold side, they're in the conversation too. And I think Marshall's also part of that group also. So, meanwhile, Arizona and Stanford. Well, all the trees are getting chopped down in the Pac-12. Next with the chainsaws is Zona. Gonna ride with Arizona on the road. They score a lot, but they give up a lot. I would rather they score and win than give up a lot and lose. So, who knows how that's going to play out. Meanwhile, back to the FCS for a couple of games. Tennessee Martin and North Alabama. North Alabama, of course, earning the dubious distinction of being called Northern Arizona at the start of the season. Well, we're taking North Alabama today at home. Tennessee Martin's just trying so hard to beat Auburn. They're basically, a knockoff of Auburn. You watch one of their games, you'll see the uniforms. It's like, God, that looks so eerily similar. Color scheme. All that. But I won't bore you with that one anymore. Kennesaw State and Tennessee Tech. I almost said Texas Tech. This is the first time we get to do this with Kennesaw State, so I'm picking you, for the first time ever, Kennesaw State to win on the road against Tennessee Tech. We have South Carolina hosting Mississippi State. It's going to be rocking down there in South Carolina, and it should not be a problem for the Gamecocks, we think. Stranger things have happened, but being that it is a home game for the Cocks, that should cool the cowbells down a little bit, I would imagine. So, going to ride with South Carolina tonight. I said South Carolina. I didn't say ride the Cocks. Meanwhile, Buffalo and the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana. This is an easy one here. Got to ride with the Ragin' Cajuns. I went against them last week. I'm not making the same mistake. It looks to me like the Ragin' Cajuns have found their footing a little bit. And that's another one I forgot to mention for the Sun Belt. They'll be in the conversation. There's going to be at least 5, 6 good teams in the Sun Belt that are going to be basically jockeying for position for bowl bids. And the sad part about it is there's only, I think, 4, maybe 5 bowl bids that are available in the conference. But out of those, one's going to get left out, and they're going to have to hope for an at-large bid somewhere. And if not, then there's that little academic quirk that I was talking about last week when Rice made it and a school like James Madison or Appalachian State didn't. So it's gonna be interesting coming up in conference play in the Sun Belt. Meanwhile, we'll get to James Madison right after this next pick. Memphis and Missouri. How'd you like that last second field goal from 61 yards to beat Kansas State? I didn't. I picked K-State. That's good for Missouri. It's good to build up their confidence. And for the fact that they're going up against a Memphis team that will get their wins in other places, but not today. Going to go with Missouri at home. Going with a different helmet this time in the process of it. James Madison and Utah State. I talked about James Madison. They're off to a very hot start. They're on the road. And Utah State does not strike me as a team that could probably stand toe-to-toe with JMU. So score another one for the Sun Belt. Going to take James Madison to win that one. We also have, and I believe this is the last of the FCS games, Montana State and Weber State. Montana State is likely going to be the one team that everybody's going to pay attention to when the FCS playoffs get started. They look to be, I wouldn't say world beaters, but they've made it as far as the semifinals before. They may be in the conversation for that again. And I'd imagine it'll take a win like this one against Weber State to make that possible. So I'm going to ride with Montana State on that one. UNLV and UTEP. UTEP. You're not going to be digging for gold with the miners and the tools that you're using. Not in Vegas. I'm sorry. Running Rebels. Meanwhile, it's the best I can do for that pick. I'm sorry. Kent and Fresno State. Fresno State is off to a hot start. It's a no-brainer pick. Got to ride with the Bulldogs. Look like they might be the team that could end up winning the Mountain West this year. And for all of you nocturnals that like Hawaii and like to watch Hawaii, you got the dubious distinction of playing New Mexico State tonight. Or early Sunday morning for you East Coast night creepers. I love your energy if you like Hawaii. Especially if you can't sleep at night. It's like, hey, Hawaii's on. We'll watch a little bit of this. Well, I don't even know if they're on television. But if they are, more power to you. Hope it gets you through the night. Especially considering that it's going to be New Mexico State that's going to win that one. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the helmet picks for this morning. We covered a lot of basics and bases, did we not? I believe we had, 38 helmets to pick from. 38. And we got another 24 lanyard selections later this morning, and 6 more Big One lanyards to unveil later this morning. So the next time we talk to you will be only on Facebook from Cameron Stadium as W&J look to maintain their perfect record against Teal College. So until then, for all of you watching on Facebook, I will talk to you in a couple of hours. For the rest of you, enjoy your college football Saturday. It's BR signing off for the Selection Saturday Kickoff show for now. Have a good one.